If you clicked on this video, chances are you've contemplated on quitting your job at least once. And maybe you're even burnt out or you're stressed at work. Whatever the reason is, I understand how hard it is to make a logical and sound decision when you're deep into the gutter of being burnt out. Because at that point, you just can't think of anything else but to get yourself feeling better, and I get it. And that's why I want to make this video to help you make a more informed decision on whatever your situation is. Because when I quit 3 years ago, I was so deep in the gutter that I probably didn't think as logically as I could. But having said that, I am very grateful because I chose myself above anything else. But there are things that I should have considered. And hopefully these can give you some perspectives in making your decision. And before we begin, I hope that you can have a realistic expectation of what quitting your job can achieve. It won't solve all your problems because a lot of times, especially reflecting back on my journey, most of these problems come from a much more deep-rooted problems such as unresolved childhood trauma or things that are going on in your life that maybe you're not aware of and that is affecting your day-to-day ability to perform. But what I will say is that if you work in a toxic environment, by removing yourself from that environment, it does give you the space mentally to process, unpack these trauma and identify these traumas. Because when you spend most of your day at work and it's toxic, even outside of work, say after work on the weekends, all you can do is just recharge, maybe vegetate on the sofa, watch TV, play video games because you just want to reset. And I get it. So I hope you can be realistic about what quitting the job can achieve for you in your situation. Now, the first thing that I would recommend thinking about is your financial situation. For me personally, this is a very important aspect. Coming from childhood trauma, going through a lot of instabilities growing up, and parents who are just horrible with their money, I recognize that even though money cannot solve all your problems or buy you happiness, it does provide you a peace of mind and the stability in your life. So if you have savings, and you have some funds that you can tap into, I think that is less of a concern for you because you have something to fall back on. But for those of you that are stressed and don't have anything to fall back on, here's something to consider. Is it possible to move back in with your parents or with some really good friends that you have? Or another thing to consider is depending on the country you live in and the employment laws there, this is something that I didn't think about when I just quit my job cold turkey, is getting on disability. Because some countries, if you're seeing a therapist or a doctor and they are able to prove that you are unable to work for however long, then your company is required to pay you a certain amount for the duration that you're sick. So that's probably something that you can also look into. I know if you're in this situation, it's really hard to think about finances because that's probably another thing that's contributing to your stress. And this is why I hope that you're not in this situation when you're burnt out. And if you're in the earlier stages of just feeling stressed at work, this is why I'm a big believer of personal finances and having your finances in order just in case for rainy days like this. And I want to share more of that in the future on my channel because I do hope that this can help someone out there one day, because personal finance is not something that is taught very well in school here in North America, at least. We're taught to how to spend money, how to make more money, but it's never how to manage our money. The next thing I want you to think about is it is possible to take a break. Oftentimes we feel like we're on this hamster wheel that we have to go from job to job without stopping or taking breaks. And sometimes, especially in the tech world, it was very popular to have unlimited vacations, but we always get guilt into not taking those vacations because there's always a project that's more important and more urgent. Therefore, we cannot take any days or more days than a week. But take those vacation days, take those sick days that you're entitled to. That is part of the compensation package for you, and the company has to give it to you. Another thing that I've done in the past, which helped me tremendously through my tenure 10 plus year as a software engineer, which is taking sabbaticals. So I've actually taken two sabbaticals. Okay, technically the first one I just quit. That was in 2013, which was a life-changing experience in so many ways. I think the two sabbaticals warrants a totally separate video on its own. And if you use that time wisely and to go outside of your comfort zone, the bubble of work and the city that you live in, you can really experience some life-changing experiences. What I did for both of my sabbaticals, the first one was more than 3 months. The second one was 2 months, and both of them incorporate elements of volunteering abroad. And it was life changing for me in so many ways because it allowed me to see a different way of living, to see that the problems that I have here in North America are probably our problems that we created for ourselves. Stress that are, in the grand scheme of things, not worth stressing for. And I got a chance to meet so many amazing people from all over the world with different walks of life, made some really great friends. So consider taking sabbaticals and spend that time wisely. And I highly encourage you to go out there, see the world, experience another way of living, and to see that it's not just the workaholic culture, the consumerism that we're surrounded by here in North America. And if the company cannot provide you with any sabbaticals, consider asking for unpaid leave of absences, because I truly believe in getting out there, spending time to get to know yourself and the world and not live inside a bubble. We feel trapped that this is the only way to live. But that's not true. There's a whole world out there. Another thing to think about is that your situation might be a boiling frog situation. So the boiling frog situation is if you slowly turn up the heat to boil a frog, the frog would not realize the danger that they're in until it's too late. And a lot of times, if this is not your first time thinking about quitting and it's been like this for a long duration of time, that might be a boiling frog problem, that perhaps this isn't the right environment for you. I understand that work, every now and then there are bad days, every now and then there are bad situations, but if this constantly comes back every week or every day and for a long time, then maybe it's telling you something about this company or the team that you're in. And that's something to think about, whether or not this is situational or it's chronic and you're just being boiled slowly like the boiling frog situation. Another thing to think about is the golden handcuff. This happens a lot in the tech space. I personally isn't as lucky to experience this golden handcuff, but essentially what this is tech companies try to keep you around for longer and longer because you are more valuable to them the longer you stay, because of your domain knowledge and your understanding of how the entire company works and the problem space that you're in. So what companies would try to do is give you these RSUs, or restricted stock units, that are to be vested in the future, so that the longer you stay, the more money that you can unlock as bonuses. And this is also why a lot of the tech companies, when you join them, you don't unlock any of these RSUs or bonuses until you're there for 1 year. There's like a cliff. So you have to be there for at least a year and then you can start accumulating. That's why I've never had the opportunity to unlock these RSUs. But I'm kind of glad, because I don't know how I would have behaved had I been handcuffed by these golden handcuffs, because it is quite a lot of money from what I heard. Some people have RSUs that are more than their base salary, which is insane to think about. So if you are handcuffed by these golden handcuffs and you so happen to work in tech, just know that this is a way for companies to keep you in the system for longer than you want it to. And it's going to seem like really hard to walk away from the money, but you really have to recognize this is designed to keep you in there. Make your decision based on what you need and not what the company needs. Another thing to consider is that grass is not greener on the other side. If you're thinking of jumping ships to a different company, you're fantasizing about, oh, maybe it's better at such and such company. Just know that every company has their own problems and challenges and dysfunctions. I made the mistake of jumping from job to job to job every time thinking that it might be the company that doesn't fit me. But at the end of the day, every single job I jumped to at the end of my career as software engineer, it was just not the solution. And when I finally realized that jumping from job to job doesn't solve anything, I was already completely burnt out. And I hope you can recognize that grass is not greener. It can be, but grass is usually not greener, and grass is just grass no matter where you go, and it's gonna be more or less chaotic, dysfunctional, because companies hire people to solve problems. Companies don't hire people to be in somewhere where there are no problems. And oftentimes, the more chaotic it is, the more they pay. So don't always go for the pay thinking that, oh, I'm going to deal with the same problems, but I'm going to be paid more. Chances are you're going to be dealing with a lot more stuff, and that's why you get paid more. The next one is something that I struggled with quite a lot because I felt that because I was put onto a certain project and had certain important roles within that project's function, that I felt guilty for even think about quitting. But looking back, honestly, I was just as disposable as a piece of paper. Companies will always want to make you feel like you are very important and that you're not disposable because this project needs you and you're doing great. But at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, you're going to be laid off just as easy as them disposing a piece of paper. And with the recent downturns in the tech space, it's very apparent that even people who are really good at their jobs, who have been very loyal to the company, get laid off just like that because the company cannot sustain the growth that they've been on, or that there's been a budget cut in the department. At the end of the day, companies' priority are the business and making money, not you. So don't let a company guilt you or make you feel like you're indispensable and that if you leave, a project wouldn't be finished and the whole world would collapse. Don't think that. When you leave, it's their problem to find someone to finish the job, and that's their problem, not yours. Your problem is your priority, and that often should be your health. Another thing to consider when making the decision of whether or not you want to quit is don't compare yourself to other people. I know it's hard to not think about what people say, and it's probably very hard to see when everyone around you seems to have it all together and here you are considering quitting. But just realize that everyone is different and every situation is different. And a lot of times I see when people seem like they have it all together, there are things under that iceberg that you just don't see. The struggles that they have, what they're dealing with. So don't compare yourself to others. And who knows, maybe they're struggling and maybe they're also contemplating quitting, right? It doesn't and shouldn't impact your decision on what's best for you. And if you have people around you that are calling you things because you want to quit, just ignore them because you're living a life for you and not theirs. Don't make decisions based on other people's opinions of what you should do or should not do. They have their own lives to live, and if they don't think they should do something or they think they should do something, then they can go ahead and do or do not whatever that thing is. But for you, you have to be true to yourself. Make that decision for you, which is a good segue for the next point that I'm going to talk about, which is listen to your body. And it might sound really weird, but I do think that your body has such a magical way of telling you what you need and what you don't need. If you're noticing yourself unable to get out of bed, or you're unmotivated, or you're just feel like you're trapped, or if you've been feeling a lot of chronic physical health problems, that might be a sign for you to prioritize your health, whatever that means. Maybe quitting isn't the solution, but at the very least, your body is telling you you need some time for yourself. You need some time to take care of yourself. And you might be wondering, how do I know if my body is telling me that I need a break? You will know. And hopefully that realization doesn't happen until it's way too late, because some people have insane amount of pain tolerances and tolerance for BS. And that's different for everyone, but you will know. If you feel uncomfortable, if you feel stressed, if you feel suffocated, you will know. So trust your body, because your body does not lie. As much as you can convince yourself that you can continue to push on, your body does not lie. And one day it might just shut down on you. And that's pretty much a burnout. It just be like, I'm not doing this anymore. And hopefully you don't let yourself get there, as long as you listen to these signals that your body sends you. Another thing that you might be thinking is responsibilities. Depending on your situation, if you have a family, if you have kids, if you have a mortgage, all these different types of responsibilities, financial responsibilities, family responsibilities, how do you deal with that? The one thing that I do want to say about this is that you can't help others if you can't help yourself. Just like that thing when you do in the airplane, those videos, safety videos where they show you put on your mask, oxygen mask first before put your oxygen mask for your child. Same idea applies here, because if you're broken and you cannot function and you completely burn yourself out, or worse yet, if you resort to unhealthy habits to cope with your stress and bad situations, things would only get worse, and those who you are trying to be responsible to won't be able to be cared for in the way that you wanted to in the first place. That's why it's so important to take care of yourself first. Otherwise, you can't take care of them. The last thing that I wanted to leave you guys with is know that time is limited. Once it's gone, you can never make that time back. But money, you can always make back. Maybe it's not in the same industry. Maybe it's in a totally different industry. There will always be opportunities out there. But if you let time and your health slip away, it will never come back. As we age, health only declines. And every single moment, time is ticking. We're not guaranteed a tomorrow. So make a decision to prioritize the things that matter to you the most. One of the things that helped me when I was making my decision is I constantly ask myself, what is the worst that can happen? Would I regret tomorrow if I die tomorrow? What would I regret the most if I die tomorrow? And I thought, I don't think I would be sitting in my coffin, sleep in my coffin, and regret that, oh, I should have worked another day, even though I was so stressed. Or I'm so glad that I stayed to make that extra bonus. But on the flip side, I thought, if I quit, what's the worst that can happen? Will I regret quitting? And I thought, maybe tech isn't for me. There's so many different jobs out there. What's the worst that can happen? Maybe I'll get a job in a totally different industry. Maybe I'll get a job as a flight attendant. I don't know, but there's job opportunities. And looking back, I'm just so glad that I made the decision that was right for me at the time, and I listened to my body. And that's how I'm able to sit here 3 years later sharing my experience to help you on your journey. And hopefully you can also make a decision that is solely for you, that is not what your friends or family or other people want you to do. That is not a decision that is based on your company's needs. Make the decision solely based on your needs. I don't know what the situation is that you're in, so I can't make this decision for you, but I hope you can realize and recognize that we don't live forever. And I hope this video was helpful for you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.